am I the asshole for wanting to evict my girlfriend and mother of my children from my home? Long story short, we have been together for close to 8 years and have 2 children together. We've been having relationship problems for the past year or so. Nothing ever got physical, just all verbally. Last month, she had enough and decided to file a restraining order on me as the only way to get out of the house. The house is mine. I bought it in 2018 while we were on one of our breaks. Our relationship is done, so I have no problem with that, but now I'm stuck out of my home and still have to make all the payments while she's living there. My attorney says the only way to get her out if she won't willingly leave is to evict her. I don't want to, but that's the only way. My mother-in-law is horribly persistent at feeding us spoiled food every time we visit. What can I do? So my mother-in-law is roughly 62. She's the type of person that'll always know better, so it's best to not discuss anything we do because she'll give us crappy advice and tell us we're doing everything wrong, which is incredibly frustrating. But that's not exactly the main issue in today's post. It's really just one of the reasons for why I think it happens. It's also important to add that we're struggling with being assertive and want to avoid conflict at all costs. My mother-in-law is very devoted to saving every penny. I can respect that, but she goes beyond respectable. She will always buy tons of food that are on sale because they'll be going bad in a day. Later, she refuses to throw it out. She'll always try to mix spoiled food in whatever she cooks, so her food is always disgusting, and it hardly ever happens that it can be called edible. Often it'll give us stomach problems and make us nauseous. That's how disgusting it is. If she sees mold on something, she'll cut off the visible part and put the rest in whatever food she makes. She refuses to dispose of anything that goes bad, and as a last resort, she gives it to her dogs. But before that, she'll try to force every family member to eat it. And I do mean force. She won't just politely offer. She'll emotionally bully you into eating it. Throw back to a week ago, we visited her on Sunday because she was complaining for weeks that we don't spend time with her. Normally, for the sake of my mental health, my boyfriend will make excuses for why we can't come, but sometimes he'll just give in to get it over with. So now we let her know the day before that we have tons of leftovers at home and ask her not to cook. When we arrive, she's standing in the kitchen making soup. First thing she does is ask us if we want to eat. Yeah, like she cares if we actually want to. To which we respond that no, we don't. We just have eaten sandwiches and have leftover lasagna at home. She becomes agitated and asks us, "Why are you doing this to me? I told you I want to cook for you. Are you doing this on purpose?" We politely tell her that we just have too much at home and it'll go bad if we don't eat it. Of course, that doesn't seem to be a problem to her. She said that we could eat it in a couple of days because at worst, it'll grow a little bit of mold that we can easily cut off. My father was recently questioned by a cop regarding a 45-year-old cold case for a missing woman. He's not a suspect, but a few days later, another police officer called him and asked him to come into the station to discuss it further. Should he lawyer up? I feel like I answered my own question with the title, but want to know if I'm being paranoid or not. My father had an acquaintance, 17-year-old girl, he was a few years older, who went missing in the late 1970s. She was never found, and the case has been completely unsolved since. The other day, my parents got a knock on the door, and it was a detective who asked to speak with my father. From what my dad told me, he essentially asked for all of my father's recollections about this woman. My dad told the cop everything he remembered about the woman, which isn't much, and the cop left without saying anything happening. The cop did tell my dad why he paid the visit, which is apparently because one of my dad's former friends called the police station and said my dad might have information about her disappearance. This former friend is a nut and a conspiracy theorist who has an axe to grind against my dad, so we think he's just trying to screw with my dad by sissing up the cops on him for no reason. Another officer called my dad today and asked him to come down to the station this coming Friday morning. We had no idea why. They apparently just wanted to discuss it further with him. I'm going to call the State's Bar Association tomorrow to get in touch with a criminal defense lawyer. I don't know if I'm being paranoid or not, but the whole thing reeks to me and I admittedly don't trust the cops in general. I basically don't want my dad to get screwed. Is it too much to go in with a lawyer for something like this? My mother was found by a neighbor drunk on the sidewalk. When I arrived home from work today, a neighbor came up to me to tell me that she found my mom laying on the sidewalk of our apartment complex. My mother had fallen and couldn't get herself back up. She was very, very drunk. Bit of a backstory. My mom was addicted to drugs and crack when I was a kid through adulthood. It got out of control and she gave me to my grandparents when I was about 10. She was in and out of my life from that point on. I'm 33 now, she is 63. She's asked to live with me about 4 times in the last 14 years, 2010, 2012, 2016, and 2019. Each time, I've accepted it. She's been living with me now since 2019, the longest she's ever gone clean from drugs. But she drinks. It wasn't bad until December of 2021 when I asked her to move because things were so bad between her and my oldest son. I've worked a lot through my trauma, but I still have a ways to go. Obviously, I'm pretty codependent. I've always wanted to save her. I really thought I could. I wish I didn't have so much trauma and could get over it all and let her in emotionally and help her bond with my children, ages 11 and 9, and help her have a good life with love and affection and all the things we all need to thrive in life. But I can't. I have my walls up with her, but I make sure I spend time with her. I'm a single working mom, my plate's full, so it's not a lot, but I try. We go to bingo, get pedicures, go to brunch. I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I failed her. During our argument today, after I told her that I didn't want to talk about this tonight, she told me that I don't nurture her. I told her she wasn't my child. I feel awful. She is so alone and hurting. I can't help her anymore. I can't take care of her too when I also have 2 kids and a job and a stable, secure life to maintain with my children. I don't want to kick my mom out. She'll probably end up back on drugs, and this time she'll die.
Am I the asshole for not letting my daughter choose the theme to her birthday party? I, 29, am the mother of my daughter, Kira. She just turned 6 this past weekend, and we had a party with her extended family and friends. Unfortunately, the party was less than her expectations, and she hasn't shut up about it, and I'm afraid I might have done something wrong. I mean, that's a little mean. A few weeks ago, before buying themed invitations and decorations, I asked my daughter what she wanted the party's theme to be so that I could buy the themed invitations and decorations. She said she wanted an Isabella-themed party, the name of a minor character in the recent Disney film Encanto. I tried to dissuade her from this idea for 2 reasons. Reason 1, which I told her, is that there probably wouldn't be many decorations to buy that centered around the character. Reason 2, which I did not tell her, is that I would have intense secondhand embarrassment and surely feel judged by my family who definitely wouldn't be familiar with such an obscure and uncomfortable recent Disney installment. I'm sorry, is it your family's birthday party or your daughter's? Like, why do you care what your family thinks about what her theme of her party is? Half the time, my parents don't know what my nephew's and niece's birthday party theme is. They just see like a big blue hedgehog. They're like, what the hell is this? I'm like, oh yeah, it's called Sonic. They don't know this stuff. They don't care as long as the kid is happy. Secondhand embarrassment. Like, you suck it up and you do it for your kid. Like, huh? Ultimately, Kira was completely unhappy with her Disney party, and the guests weren't much happier. Kira's school friend's mom confronted me after asking my daughter why she had been crying the whole time, and in short, gave me hell. My mother offered to throw a party at her own house the next day, and she'd buy every Isabella thing she could find at the store, on the condition that she bring my daughter and I don't show up at all. But I declined and kind of faked a seizure to avoid any further attacks because I was just completely exhausted. Everyone left while my daughter's face was covered in cake and tears, but mostly anger. I was just trying to do the best for both my daughter and myself, but everyone ended up disappointed in me. So, am I the asshole? See, here's the problem. You just said, I was just trying to do the best for both me and my daughter. You don't do the best for you. You do the best for your daughter. Do you know how many embarrassing stuff I've done just to make my nephews and nieces laugh, to make them happy? Like, you shouldn't care what other people think. Like, that joy the child has on their birthday. Like, I'm recording this right now, and it's my nephew's birthday, and there's a Sonic themed party in there. And if I know if it made him laugh or made him happy, I would dress up as a Sonic and do a dance for him. Like, that's what you do for kids. Like, it doesn't matter. People who make fun of you for doing those kind of things, they're bad people. Why would you make your kid cry on their birthday? You're definitely the asshole here.
Am I the asshole for telling my wife that leaving her used pad in my brother's place was inappropriate? My wife and I were invited to my brother's 31st birthday. He's single and lives alone in his apartment. Also, for a heads up, my wife and him don't get along so well. So we went and had dinner and talked, and everything was going well. No argument, nothing, till after my wife went to use the bathroom. Later, my brother went to use the bathroom and came back looking pissed. He kept giving me and my wife looks, but I didn't know what was going on until he pulled me aside before we left. He told me that my wife left her used pad in the bathroom. I was shocked and didn't know what to say because this felt highly inappropriate. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that leaving her used pad in my brother's place was inappropriate? My brother said it felt like a sign of disrespect towards him. I apologized and said I didn't know about it, and he asked me to speak to her or she wouldn't be welcome in his place anymore. We got in the car and I asked my wife about it, and she nonchalantly said there was nothing wrong with what she did. I kind of flipped and told her it was very inappropriate for her to leave her used pad in his place even if it was in the bathroom in the trash can. She yelled and said what was she supposed to do, and I said she could have threw it in the trash outside. She yelled and called my brother ridiculous and called me an asshole for getting in her face about it. She said it wasn't even visible, and I said it still made him uncomfortable.